On June 12, 2026, the lights went out at Anthropic. In a single coordinated move, the company disabled access to its Fable 5 and Mythos 5 models, severing the connection for millions of users row by row. The Department of Commerce framed this as a matter of routine safety. They cited vulnerabilities in the models, the kind of standard software flaws found in almost every major AI release, as the reason for an immediate federal directive. But the timing and the methods suggest this wasn't a standard safety check. This was the conclusion of a high-stakes standoff between the federal government and a company that refused to comply with its demands. The events of that day provide a map. They reveal a repeatable strategy used to dismantle a corporate giant and replace it with a system more aligned with the state's interests. To understand why Anthropic was forced to pull the plug, we have to look at the specific boundaries the company refused to cross. In early 2026, the U.S. defense apparatus was aggressively scouting for AI partners. They needed contractors to build out mass domestic surveillance networks and systems for fully autonomous, lethal weapons. Anthropic was a primary candidate, but they held a firm line. The company flatly refused to let its technology be used for domestic spying or any system capable of taking a life without a human in the loop. This wasn't a minor disagreement. Negotiations between Anthropic and the Department of Defense completely broke down over these specific ethical guardrails. The government didn't target Anthropic because their technology failed. They targeted them because their ethics made them the single greatest obstacle to the military's next-generation surveillance goals. The pressure began in March 2026. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth took the lead, publicly questioning the company's loyalty in a series of highly charged hearings. Hegseth leaned on 10 U.S. Code Section 3252, a statute typically reserved for hardware suppliers, to officially label Anthropic a supply chain risk. That designation effectively blacklisted the company. Almost overnight, Anthropic was barred from competing for federal contracts, stripping away its most lucrative revenue stream. Anthropic didn't back down. They filed a federal lawsuit against the Trump administration, alleging the move was an illegal attempt to bypass their constitutional rights. A federal judge agreed. Judge Rita F. Lynn issued an injunction, finding that the government's actions appeared to be a clear-cut case of First Amendment retaliation. The direct legal attack had failed. The administration had to find another way, a backdoor that didn't involve the Department of Defense or the scrutiny of a courtroom. The focus shifted to the Commerce Department. Here, officials found a tool that was much harder for a company to fight in court. They invoked the deemed export rule. By citing those same minor software vulnerabilities, they claimed that allowing any foreign national to access the model was effectively an illegal transfer of sensitive technology. The government demanded that Anthropic verify the citizenship of its millions of users instantly. For a global cloud-based system, there was no existing infrastructure to perform that level of individual vetting across every continent in real time. Unable to meet an impossible verification deadline, Anthropic was forced to shut down. Fable 5 and Mythos 5 were taken offline to avoid crushing federal penalties. A Cold War-era trade rule had done what the Defense Department couldn't. It had neutralized the company that refused to cooperate. When Anthropic servers went dark, they left a massive hole in the AI defense market. A vacuum this large doesn't stay empty for long. Just weeks earlier, in February, a new power had emerged. SpaceX-xAI finalized a massive merger, creating a conglomerate built specifically for large-scale data and defense. As Anthropic was being paralyzed by export rules, the SpaceX-xAI conglomerate was launching a $1.77 trillion IPO. The timing was exact. As one company was forced out of the defense market for its ethical boundaries, a new massive competitor was being valued at nearly $2 trillion. This new conglomerate is deeply integrated with the current administration. Elon Musk now oversees the same infrastructure that the Defense and Commerce departments rely on, and they have the hardware to back it up. xAI's Colossus data center in Memphis is currently the largest AI training cluster on the planet. This conglomerate has already funneled nearly $13 billion into dominating the physical infrastructure of AI. With no ethical restrictions on lethal systems and a data infrastructure larger than any other lab, SpaceX-AI was perfectly positioned to step into the contracts Anthropic left behind. The result is a system where the government's surveillance needs and a private monolith's data power are now inextricably linked. It is the working model for a publicly funded, privately operated surveillance state.